the show here, guys. NFL Week 8 starts and sits, full preview right here with Jimmy, a.k.a. The Maverick. What's going on, Jim?
Hey, man, I was sick as a dog yesterday, but I'm feeling much better. Thank goodness, man. I thought I was going to die yesterday.
It was all that partying in Vegas when he went to the Sphere, that new dome, right?
Yeah. I think that was maybe part of it, but man, I couldn't even move. I couldn't even get out of bed till like 2 PM. It was pretty rough.
You're,
So
you're too old to party. I mean, all those gray hairs, unlike me, who's actually gotten rid of. See, all the gray hairs have magically disappeared. I've got sharp lines now.
I thought you had de-aged like a decade, man. I'm like, what's going on here? It's magic.
I went to the barber. I'm like, color me up, and then they did this, and now it looks ridiculous. I look like some sort of pirate from the 1800s or something like that. I remember.
All right, you look fantastic, matey.
The reason this reminds me because when I was a young kid, I actually wore the pirate costume. So they painted a black beard under here, and it reminds me of when I was like, 5. But anyways, it's what it is. I just wanted to get rid of the gray for me, so it's gone. But yeah, anyways. So guys, we're gonna talk full preview here. We're gonna go through all the matchups here. We're gonna talk about the over-unders. We're gonna talk about the spread. Deep dive all the optimal starts for each position. For each team as well. Before we get into that, guys, I've teamed up with Better App, BETR.app, guys. This is an amazing way to play DFS. Guys, they'll double your first deposit up to $100 if you use the code FFC. Go create an account right now, put a deposit in, they'll double it up to $100. This is an amazing way to play DFS. This is where I play it. And once you create an account, DM me the word DFS and that you're in, and I'll send you my optimal plays for this week as well. Okay, direct from me, hand-picked by myself. So better.betr.app, better.app, and use code FFC. Go do that right now. All right, Jim, are you ready to dive into this? Actually, let's go over the news and notes here, actually. Not really much to highlight really in the news and notes other than the fact that, Deshaun Watson got an MRI or something like that, and it doesn't look that serious, but he's kind of day-to-day. Will Levis might get the start. Apparently, Tannehill's dealing with that ankle thing. So Will Levis, dynasty owners, if you got Will Levis, this is a chance to take a look at what he's made of or if he sucks or not. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to come in and have like an immediate impact. We'll have to see how that goes. Other than that, Jerome Ford also ankle injury, right, Jim? I mean, who's the other guy? Pierre Strong?
Yeah, Pierre Strong is now the next guy up, and he was the one who got most of the reps, most of the touches last week once Ford went out. So he's definitely someone that I think you could plug and play this week. I would not start Will Levis.
No,
I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. Just keep him on your bench if you got him because you got to see what he's going to do first. I think that's it. Oh, also, Baker Mayfield's dealing with an injury. He's got the Thursday night game. Not sure if he's going to play or not either. And if he doesn't, that'd certainly be a downgrade to all the receivers on that team. So
yeah. Well, let's get into it. Thursday night games. Let's talk about it. First game we're going to talk about is Bucks at Bills. Bills 8.5-point favorite here. Understandably so. They're 4-3 versus 3-3. Tampa Bay, not the greatest team. Buffalo being at home. Josh Allen, I've been finding, has been getting some really slow starts in the season. And recently in the news just came out here, Stephon Diggs came out and said something. I think he deleted the tweet after. Something along the line of like, I feel really bad when I mess up your fantasies, not fantasy football, and parlay or something like that. And then I think he deleted it after. So it looks like he is a man of the people, Stephon Diggs, sticking up for our fantasies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And, actually, Josh Allen looked really good last week, but just at the end, like he was having a really mediocre game, but then like in the fourth quarter, he really came on. He ran in a touchdown, and ended up with a really good fantasy day. But before that happened, man, he was running at like 11 points or something like that for the first 3 quarters, and so it was good that he finally came alive. And I think Buffalo's going to take care of business pretty easily here, and I'd be excited to start all the Buffalo players. On Tampa Bay's side, though, it's just the main guys, Evans and Godwin, probably White, who
Rashad White
sucks, but he's getting so much volume that he's actually being somewhat productive for a running back. Real disappointed that that Sean, who's it? Sean
Sean
Tucker
Tucker never got going.
hasn't done anything this year. Has just been basically completely forgotten about. When White is just terrible. He's just really really bad. But he's getting the volume, so he's getting enough volume to be productive. But
And that's what bothers me. I mean, you look at again, I keep going back to the example of Jahmyr Gibbs, how good he is. He was just on the bench. They're not giving him the reps. Give him the reps, he puts up like 30 points. I mean, this is the thing. There's so many running backs that never really got going. And Tampa Bay has been known to do that. I remember Peyton Barber years ago. In comes this young, dynamic Ronald Jones, who I think was drafted in the second or third something round. And he looked like a good prospect coming out of college, Rojo, right at the time. He just never got the volume. They kept feeding mediocre, average Peyton Barber, and they're still doing the same thing with White. Such a shame when you see potential talent that could really boom, and you're seeing the talent that you're force feeding absolutely being mediocre, and you're not giving them the opportunity. And that's a damn shame. You know, it really really sucks for guys that could really blossom, but their careers just get completely pushed over to the side because they never really got the opportunity and the volume. So, I'm hoping we see more Gibbs. I'm not sure what the update is on you know, we'll get to that matchup in a second, but
yeah,
I'd like to see more Gibbs. We'll talk about that later. So in regards to this, man, Buffalo should absolutely destroy the Bucks. I would think 8.5. I don't even know about that. I mean, they had some slow starts to begin with. I think you know what, Bucks could actually cover the 8.5, but I think you know Buffalo wins.
yeah. And if Baker doesn't play though, it's definitely gonna be
Yeah.
they're gonna beat that spread. So the Buffalo will beat that spread. So yeah. So yeah, keep watch the news, see what's going on with that. But I'd be inclined to start Buffalo defense also. I think it's going to be a good week for them.
All
So
right, let's move on to the 1 o'clock games. Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. I'm surprised here. Really, Pittsburgh's 4-2. I really really am, and Jacksonville too. I mean, Lawrence has not been playing anywhere near, from a fantasy perspective, where he should be, and you know it's such a damn shame that literally Christian Kirk is the one. I think because they're buddies and they hang out and all that. Because Calvin Ridley, another one. You're talking about hindrance of talent. You know, Ridley is really hindered. I mean, he's the best running back, best wide receiver on the team. We saw it in training camp when you saw the side by side photos. He looked you know, the speediest, the most explosive, the best route runner. But again, when you're limited by volume, you know, you're not getting the ball, you're not going to do well, and that's just where we're at right now with Jacksonville.
yeah, and Trevor Lawrence just hasn't been playing well. I mean, he's had one touchdown
Yeah,
games, like I think in 5 of the 6 games he's played. I mean, it's been pathetic. You know, you don't. You know, he was like drafted 8th quarterback overall, and he's been like 18th best quarterback this year. Just a complete bust, and just extremely disappointing in how mediocre, below average he's been, and so
let me add to that.
that's also part of the problem.
Eight
So
touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a 92.79 passer rating. He's sitting 12th right now amongst fantasy quarterbacks. So
is he at 12th? I
I
find
got
that
him.
hard to believe. I mean, again, we've had 7 games. He's gotten 8 touchdowns. So that's only one game that he got more than one touchdown. Just
It's the five.
unacceptable.
Yeah,
Absolutely unacceptable for the level of talent on that team.
yeah.
So
It's disgusting, but I got him sitting here at 12th overall in the season here. Now, from last week's game, maybe you got him 18th or
yeah, he
something.
had a good week last week, so that might have boosted him up a bit.
Yeah,
But
ninth,
yeah, he's been running about 17th, 18th on most weeks. So I don't know.
ninth last week. He did have a touchdown and 0 interception. Maybe last week kind of gave him a little bit of bump up here on his overall numbers here. But again, some of the quarterbacks have just not been doing good at all. But again, Jacksonville. I mean, you got to start ATN here. You got to start. Are we starting Kirk moving forward over Ridley? Is that looks like the way it's going?
I'm inclined to bench Ridley if you can bench him. I mean, in one of my leagues, I would actually have the ability to bench Ridley. I'm going to put him on my bench until I see something more out of him.
For
But in a
sure.
lot of other leagues, it's like I gotta play Ridley because I don't have anyone better to put in his spot. But I do have this game tagged as a bust game. I think it's going to be low scoring. Neither one of these offenses is particularly good. So, you know, anybody you start on either of these teams, it's going to be very much capped what they're going to do. So you want to minimize your exposure. But, you know, like I said, you're going to have to start the main names. And just go with that.
Are we
So
starting Najee? I mean, he had himself a decent week last week, nothing to write home about, but the guy seems like he's playing for a job, finishing 13th amongst running backs, 12.8 points in standard. You know, I not and what do you have?
yeah, I'd go ahead and I'd start him. I'd start him. He's looked better the past couple of weeks. So let's just keep that going, and hopefully he continues to be more productive. He got that touchdown last week. That was nice.
14
Um,
attempts, 14 attempts. So, I mean,
yeah,
he's starting to get some attempts here, and that's something that's, it's not bad. Finally doing something.
right.
All right, Jim, this is one I'm excited to start Brees Hall. What do you think of Brees Hall? Brees the Beast this week.
Hell yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
going for it.
definitely.
Yes.
I'll start him every week he's starting, man. Yeah, sure. Is this is the Giants Jets game, right? Isn't that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so we got the Giants at home versus the New York Jets. Jets are a 3-point favorite here, 3-3 versus 2-5. In regards to fantasy relevance, I mean, you got to start Brees Hall here. Garrett Wilson's been consistently getting the volume. Again, there's a lot of starters here. Again, I don't know what's going on. It's going to be the Tyrod Taylor show, and he's been feeding his wide receivers, decently. I mean, Hyatt's getting some volume now. Nothing to get too excited about on a game-to-game basis, but I'm not starting Tyrod Taylor. I'm not starting Zach Wilson, but Saquon Barkley, you got to start. I think Waller is definitely worth a start for sure. He's getting some volume as well. And, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall here are your starts.
Yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's about all you could do on this. Absolutely. Yeah, I would just start in this case, the running backs and the Waller and Garrett Wilson are the only guys you can start on either of these teams. And I wouldn't expect that much out of the receivers. It's going to be a low scoring game. I've got this labeled as a bust game. So just minimize your exposure. But I think the running backs are going to be fine.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. We've got Houston versus Carolina. Another game I won't be watching. 3-3 Texans versus 0-6 Carolina. Good matchup finally for Dameon Pierce, but again, I'm not giving up on him. We saw prior to the bye week that Singletary was getting the volume. I don't know what's going on, man. These teams are really messing up a lot of people. You got workhorses, you got guys that are hungry. Dameon Pierce runs hard when he runs. He had a 12-yard hard run last time I saw him, and they're playing Singletary. It just blows my mind. Is Tank Dell coming back? Hopefully Tank Dell comes back now. Is he going to get the volume? Is it going to be the Collins show? I mean, it's really a crapshoot. It's like wide receiver roulette with the Texans, and then Carolina, man. It's going to be rookie quarterback versus rookie quarterback. I'm not seeing a lot of consistency here. Who are you starting here? Are you starting any Carolina players? Are you excited about Chuba maybe? Chuba maybe as a flex play. Adam Thielen, obviously, right?
Yeah, Chuba and Thielen are the only guys I would start on Carolina's side. I've got this one labeled as a blowout game. I think Houston's going to really take care of business here. They've looked like the much better team so far this season. So I would start as many Houston players as you have. Obviously, Nico, Tank Dell if he's okay. I haven't heard any updates on Tank Dell,
Me neither.
but they did have the bye week, so he should be healthy and should be ready to go again. Pierce, Singletary, I would not start him because last week was really like the first week that they had given Singletary any volume at all this season. So I don't know if that was just a one-game thing or not. I wouldn't trust that, so I wouldn't start him.
Maybe he had a headache. Maybe Pierce had a headache or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you hear that Atlanta, the team, might get fined because they didn't properly report Bijan's injury, basically.
Really strange. It was really.
Yeah. It's just very strange. But
I've never seen
I
that
hope the
before.
team does get fined because and the coach needs to get fined too for that. So
Yeah. Benching your first overall pick and not giving a reason. Oh, I wasn't feeling good. Then it turns out to be a headache. It's just ridiculous, man.
yeah,
And a lot of people, it costs a lot of people a lot of money, man, a lot of time, a lot of effort this week. But anyway, that's besides the fact. We'll get to that matchup in a second. But yeah, in regards to this one, I mean, Dameon Pierce, and again, crapshoot at wide receiver. Again, it's just like guessing, really. It's like Tank Dell or Nico Collins or sometimes even Robert Woods, which is crazy. He hasn't really like honed in on one wide receiver. Maybe it's Tank Dell, but Tank Dell has to stay on the field, really.
Right. I mean, I'd feel comfortable with both Nico and Tank Dell right now. Those are the guys I would play. So,
all right, New England at Miami here. Miami players, obviously, you're going to start your Tyreek Hill. And, again, New England, though, I mean, 2-5. I mean, this is a divisional game? Miami should absolutely blow them out. I think Mac Jones, did he have a good game? I think it was last week.
he did. Yeah, he actually he did good. Who they beat? They beat Buffalo, right? Did they beat Buffalo?
Now who was it? I gotta go back and look.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was Buffalo. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
29-25. I mean, they were at home. But yet again, I'm not buying it. I'm not drinking this Kool-Aid, if you guys remember that
right.
old term. I'm not buying into the Mac Jones hype that he's gonna continue this. But I don't know, man. Definitely don't start Mac Jones. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, as far as New England goes, there's only, I mean, you can start Ramondre, you can start Zeke, but that's
Kendrick,
about it.
Ken-
I don't trust any of the receivers on that team.
Kendrick Bourne, if anybody. I mean, he had 7
Yeah,
targets.
Kendrick Bourne, you probably could start, but they're just not that good. They can't score that many points, and now they're going to be playing against a team that's going to just boat race them, and so I just don't see them being able to keep up with that. And so
Yeah, Kendrick
um,
Bourne did have a touchdown last week, which inflated his numbers. So pump the brakes if you guys are all excited about Kendrick Bourne. And last week with Miami, right? Last time they played here, 11 receptions for Tyreek and Waddle getting 6. But again, a touchdown for Tyreek. Waddle has just not been performing where he should be. We saw that, right? We're like, he's not the alpha. I'm not
yeah,
invested.
Tyreek has been sucking up all the volume, man. There's just not that much left for anybody else, and Waddle's part of that. So, and that's the way you would expect it to be. When you've got your elite number one guy taking a 30% share, it makes it real hard for anyone else to be any level of consistent. So,
And really weird, their running backs did nothing last week. I mean, Raheem Mostert, 9 attempts, 45 yards, 6.1 points. I mean, that's strange. Sometimes these guys have these boom games and then they don't do anything. So it's just strange,
yeah, yeah.
isn't it? Weird.
I don't know. It could also just be that the season's just weighing on Mostert. Mostert is over 30.
He always gets hurt too. I'm surprised he's still going now.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure he's playing hurt at this point of the season, and he's just, he's an older running back, so I think his effectiveness is going to decrease as we go forward here. So I know if you've got him, you're definitely going to start him just because of his role in the offense. But I think it's going to be the Tyreek show. It's going to be big week for Tyreek. So.
All right, next matchup here, the beloved Atlanta Falcons.
Oh God.
-3 favorites at Tennessee, 4-3 versus 2-4. I mean, let's just talk about it. I mean, by Jan, I'm going to go ahead and continue to start them. I really don't know what happened last week. We talked about this on last show. A lot of people have talked about it. It's kind of been overdone. Algier has no business being on the field. I mean, this really shows how, like, you saw a lot of people pissed off, right? And so it's not just me who's been an advocate and an ambassador of Bijan this season. Okay, it's not just me. Everybody had him in the first round. That's where he was coming off. So it pissed off a lot of people. And you can see the frustration knowing the talent. And I'm kind of glad, not really glad because I lost a week in a couple leagues, but I'm kind of glad this happened because it really shows people's true colors. Like, you don't want Algier on the field. The truth is you want Bijan. The fans want Bijan. I was in an Atlanta Falcons Facebook group and they're losing it too. They're like, where is Bijan? Like, where is he? Why aren't you playing him? Right? This was like a big question. So it's not just me saying, well, Algier shouldn't be on the field. Play your best player. And he's got to play. Drake London, I'm going to start him as well. Again, he's been relatively consistent. And then with
Pitts
Tennessee,
has been good. Pitts can play too.
yeah,
So.
Pitts has been getting volume. Surprisingly, he's getting a lot of volume this year. And then with Tennessee, obviously Henry Hopkins not as exciting this year as he should be. And then, like I said, Will Levis. I mean,
Yeah, we will leave. Yeah,
I
would. I would be reluctant even to start Hopkins, but
Yeah.
you're going to start Hopkins if you have him. But geez, man, I wouldn't expect much out of the receivers there.
Not at all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you definitely Henry. I think that's it on Tennessee side, and I've got this labeled as a bus game. Atlanta can't freaking score points either. They're such a low scoring team.
They're squeaking
So
by. Like, they're just squeaking by. Atlanta's like that pest of a team that's just squeaking at wins against
right,
mediocre teams. Like,
barely winning. Yeah,
look who
yeah.
they're playing. Look at their schedule. They're playing Tennessee. Like, I
Right.
guess Will Levis. Like, it's not that they're a great team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, but I got to say, man, if you're looking to stream a defense this week, I'd start Atlanta's defense against Will Levis for sure. I think there's definitely going to be some turnover opportunities there.
If Levis plays, yeah, we got to see how
Yeah,
that goes. But yeah.
yeah.
All right, 3-4 Minnesota divisional game here versus Green Bay 2-4. I mean, Aaron Jones has been a disaster. Another guy that people keeps had him. The keeps had him high. Now I did a post. I just did a video yesterday on Insta saying, okay, you guys are harping on me on Quentin Johnson, who I drafted in the 9th round, and Najee, we drafted at his right 8. Everyone's drafting him there, and Bijan, which again, coaching sucks. And again, I haven't been perfect, right? Gibbs finally came alive last week. I don't know how long that's gonna last. It's not just, but then I did a list of all the people that have crapped the bed, including guys like Alexander Madison, who's been mediocre, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, T. Higgins, J.K. Dobbins, who we told you to fade, right? There's so many players, Waddle, all these guys we told you to fade. Justin Jefferson, who's missed a lot of time. We said go Addison. All these guys we told you to fade, and it's like, you guys come at us for that. It's like no one's perfect, but we're way more accurate than we are wrong. So again, I got to talk about this guy, Aaron Jones, right? The guy we talked about aging running backs, right? We talked about it, right? You kept preaching, don't draft these aging running backs, and Aaron Jones has just been a disaster this year.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of complete busts when it comes to these older running backs. You got Eckler, you've got Aaron Jones, you've got James Conner. These old guys, man. They maybe came out for the first couple of weeks, looked pretty good,
Yeah.
but that age catches up with you quick when you hit that line, when you hit that wall, and we've just seen them be completely ineffective as they've come back from injury. So yeah, you gotta. It's a young man. Football's a young man's game, so you go with the younger guys, and you're probably going to be okay. But these older guys are just so high risk. Outside of I think Henry has done the best amongst all the older running backs, and even he's getting limited on volume each week because they know, they don't want to break him. They're like, let's keep him strong for the remainder of the season. But
Yeah, and then Addison came alive last week. He does have a tougher matchup versus position against Green Bay secondary this week. But again, I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm not sitting anybody. Again, at this point, when you're looking at starts and sits, week 8 and beyond, you start your consistent players, the guys that consistently get the volume. And Addison's prime for that. No matter how hard the matchup is, he does have it tougher this week. So
right, and
Addison's
Hawkinson did great last week too. So Hawkinson definitely is
and
a
don't get me
start
started
there.
on Hawkinson, man. The guy fakes an injury. His coach, did you see that? The coach says, go down, go down, fakes an injury. And I think a couple quarters later, something like a quarter or two later, he actually fell down with a real ankle injury. He hobbled off. I'm like, yes, karma. He got her. Like you can't be faking injury and not, and then sure enough, he got back on the field. I'm like, I wish karma bit him in the butt. You can't be fake. Like it's messed up, man, to be faking and dropping an injury to buy time.
Come on, there's faked injuries all the time on the field, especially when it comes to those critical end of quarter,
Not
end of the
soccer.
half, end of the game. I mean, they gotta stop the clock somehow, and so you take a
It was
flop.
weak.
It
It was
happens all the time.
so weak.
But
Grab your calf and go down, dude. Come on, man. It's stupid. I don't care if it's game. It is game strategy. You could say it's strategy, but it's weak. I don't know. I don't like it at all. I think it's totally soft, totally weak, cowardly to do that.
yeah, well, I mean, it's again that's part of the game, and I'm not going to hold it against Hawkinson for
I'm
sure.
holding it against Hawkinson. Faking an injury is stupid, and that's okay. For example, Jim, you and I are in an MMA fight, right? And you're beating the crap out of me. And I just drop down.
First of all, that wouldn't happen, man. Come
Time
on,
out.
let's be realistic here.
Time out on my shoulder. Hold on, time out, and then sucker punch you. I don't know.
Right.
It's soft. I didn't like that whole fake the injury thing that the Vikings did with Hawkinson. Karma's gonna
Yeah. But as far as this game goes, Kirk Cousins, another guy, I will totally start him. He did great last week. I got to say, I benched Kirk Cousins last week because it was like a road game, a night game against San Francisco. I'm like, no way he's going to do anything. I benched him in favor of Watson, and man, that was a mistake. That was a huge mistake on my part. I lost that game. So I'm not going to make that mistake again, man. Cousins is in my lineup, and he's been very effective this year. So I think he's going to be fine as well to start. And then as far as Green Bay goes, God, it's just such a mess. That whole offense is such a mess right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no clear wide receiver one. Christian Watson's been invisible. I think he's injured. I don't even know. Dobbs has kind of gotten the volume, but then he doesn't get the volume. who do you even trust on that team? You can't trust Aaron Jones. You can't trust Jordan Love. I mean, I'm inclined to not want to start anybody on on Green Bay right now until I see something out of somebody.
Volume, 4 targets for Jaden Reed last week, 5 for Dobbs, 5 for Watson. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just
you can't
spreading the
start any
ball.
of those guys with that kind of volume. You just got to keep them on your bench.
Dobbs got the touchdown. Jaden Reed got the touchdown. But again, you're thinking, well, Watson's the one, but he's not because he's not getting like Jaden Reed's getting touchdowns. Like again, it's weird. It's just spreading the ball around, no consistency. And then when you look at running back, Dylan 15 attempts, Aaron Jones 8 attempts. Dylan doing a little bit better. No one getting a touchdown. I don't like this. It's disaster, man. Again, everybody. This is like the same situation with every running back. It's like a committee everywhere, literally everywhere, other than like Christian McCaffrey. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, it's tough. It is. It's tough. So, but I would just stay away from Green Bay right now until you see something from somebody.
All right, next matchup: Rams 3-4 at Dallas, who is 4-2. Dallas at home, 6.5-point favorite here, and we haven't been going over the over/unders here, but what is it? 45.5 is the over/under here. The Packers game was 42.5. That's a low scoring, and again, going back to the Falcons, Titans game 36.5. They're anticipating a low scoring game there. So back to this Dallas game here, 45.5 over/under, 6.5 points is the favorite. Dallas 4-2. And again, I'm not even going to talk about this too much, but Cooper Kupp, everyone's like, yeah, Cooper Kupp first round. Puka was the guy last week. He's built that rapport with Stafford. He's getting the ball, and he looks pretty dynamic. I don't know if you saw that one catch by the sideline there, just getting his feet in, looked really good. He looks really strong, really solid. Man, it's like Kupp owners, sorry to tell you, man, Puka's for real.
Yeah, Puka is for real. I think that was just a little bit of a game, game script because I think they were probably double teaming Kupp, and it worked. But then he just went to Puka. But again, I think Kupp has looked very good since coming back from his injury. I think he's going to be fine. There's no way I'd bench him at this point. You got to start him. But I think you can start Puka as well. And as far as the rest of that team goes, Higbee has kind of been invisible since Kupp has come back, which kind of sucks. He's not getting any volume at all, so I'm not sure I would be able to start him. Darrell Henderson, I'm not sure if you could trust him to start yet, but he might be someone you can start on if
18 attempts. 18 attempts last week, 3.4 yards per carry. He got that touchdown, 13.6 points. Even with those attempts, it just didn't look that great. 12 attempts for Royce Freeman, didn't really nothing with him, 6.6 fantasy points. And then there's Zach Evans. People are talking about Zach Evans, emerging. But again, I don't know, man. It's a committee crapshoot, mediocre running backs there. Nothing to write home about either.
Right, and I'm not sure I would want to trust Stafford this week against the Dallas defense. Although I got to say, Dallas defense hasn't looked quite as imposing as it did earlier in the season. But on Dallas's side, you could start most everybody as far as the stars go. You want to start CD. You want to start the running backs. Dak Prescott, I wouldn't really start unless you absolutely needed to. But that's where I'm at with that. I think this should be a pretty good game for fantasy, though, on both sides. So I'm looking to maximize exposure with these two teams for this weekend. So
for sure. So in regards to this, man, whether you're a Puka owner or a Cooper Kupp owner, I mean, I guess you got to start both of these guys. Dallas, Tony Pollard not performing where he's supposed to, but if you got him, you invested high draft capital, start him. In regards to this game, Jim, who do you have winning this game?
Oh, who do I have winning this game? I think I would go Dallas since they are at home. I mean, Rams have been really feisty this year. They're a feisty team, and I like that. But I just don't think they're good enough. But they're going to make it competitive. So, and they could pull the upset. But I'd lean Dallas for sure.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's move on to the next matchup here. We got Philly versus Washington. Philly being a 6.5 point favorite here on this one. 6-1 versus 3-4. I mean, with Philly, I mean, Swift has kinda, like, just not been as good as we thought he'd be, which we agreed he'd be. He had a couple good games, and he's kinda fallen off a little bit. You know, he's
Yeah, I
consistent.
mean, I think he's exceeded expectations as to where he was being drafted and stuff. He's been pretty good for fantasy, but this is, again, it's a team where you've got Jalen Hurts in the backfield. So Jalen Hurts, as far as I'm concerned, is the one on that team, and Swift is the two. But still, I think I definitely think Swift is good enough to start on a weekly basis. And really, this offense has been great. So AJ Brown's just been a monster, and so continue to start him. I'd be a little bit concerned about Devonta Smith.
Yeah.
Again, he's just a guy that's, AJ Brown's getting a 30% market share. That makes it really hard for anyone else to be consistent. That's what we're seeing. And so he is definitely risky in this case. But Jalen Hurts, absolutely start. Dallas Goedert, I think you can start. I think Dallas has been getting some pretty good volume lately. So that's a good thing to see. But as far as Washington, man, jeez, I don't want to start anybody. I mean,
Brian
McLaurin,
Robinson, I mean, look at Brian
Robinson,
Robinson, 8 attempts last week, 2.9 yards per carry. He had that touchdown. Like, had he not got that touchdown, he had 8.3 fantasy points, okay? Without
yeah,
that touchdown,
he got two. Yeah.
23 yards, you know what I mean? Like 23
Yeah.
yards, 2.9 yards per carry. Gibson, people are excited about Gibson going this season. I'm like, no, don't get Gibson. He's been garbage too. Again, another weird running back scenario, disaster type thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no one else in that backfield though, as far as for runners. So Robinson is probably a safe volume play, and and he's looked better in other games. He just didn't look good last week, but uh, you know. Uh, you don't want to start a lot of players on Washington. That's basically the only two I would start would be McLaurin and Robinson, and that's it. Um, but I am excited about Philly. They look great. I think they're going to win this one easy. So go
Yeah.
with that. And the Philly defense, probably good defense this week.
Yeah, and Swift 10 points last week. Unacceptable for people thinking he's going to have that big game he had early in the season. Not
10
perform.
points is pretty good. I mean, what was that? It's probably the RB 15, 16, something like that. I mean, that's not bad. It's so you
All
can
right.
continue to start him.
All right. We got over under 43.5 for the next one. We got 3-4 Saints at the 3-4 Colts. Colts 1.5 point favorite here. The Minshew. Pittman's been pretty solid. He had some good games. Jonathan Taylor finally in the groove. Definitely got to start him. With the Saints, Alvin Kamara, a must start here. And Olave, is he getting suspended? We had that off-field issue where I think he was speeding. I don't know what the
Yeah,
exact.
it was a speeding. I wouldn't worry about that at all. It's a complete non-factor. They wouldn't issue any sort of suspension until after a conviction
What did he go?
happened.
What did he go
So
over? He was
he was like doing 70 and a 35 is what he was doing.
traveling 35
So
miles over, yeah, the posted
yeah.
speed limit. And apparently, I saw a video of him, and the cop was pulling him over. He's like, I play for the Saints," and the cop's like, "And," so it's like these guys are trying to push their leverage. I play for the Saints.
Sure.
I'm untouchable. Like that's the type of attitude that I hate from athletes. I mean, you play for the Saints, so what? You're human. Like I have a podcast. Jim works his job and has a podcast. Like, so what? Like, you know what I mean? I work at McDonald's. Like, what does it matter? McDonald's is much bigger than the Saints if you look at it from a franchise perspective. I don't know, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's a big nothing as far as fantasy goes. If any suspension was to come down to be next season, so I'm not worried about it at all. He should be fine. He's been getting great volume. I'd like to see him do more with it, though. I mean, last week he got 15 targets and only managed to produce like 56 yards, which was kind of pathetic. Where's the touchdowns? And with that kind of volume, you should be having awesome fantasy days. So
Not doing it. It's just
I
not
don't know what's
happening.
going on with that, but yeah, I mean, you definitely start him. You definitely start Kamara. As far as other players, you're really taking a risk there. As far as Shaheed.
But he's dipped in. Like he got 8 targets last week and then 7 to
Yeah,
Thomas. The fact that Thomas has stayed healthy is really hurt Olave because we got 7 going to him. We got 8 going to Rashid. Rashid came out of nowhere. He's just been nothing but a pest. Absolutely just taking away targets from Olave completely.
Yeah, but again, Olave got 15 targets last week, so I don't care if the other guys got 8 and
Still,
7. That's, I mean, that's
yeah.
an amazing level of volume. He should be doing more with it than he is. Anyway, I'm not worried about Olave, and this is a tough game to call, but I'm going to say this is probably going to be one of those really good games for fantasy. Gardner Minshew's looked really great. I think he could be started if you need to start a quarterback. And then, you know, of course, JT, start him. Zach Moss, I think you can still start him.
Taylor's got it in tough too, though. Like on a matchup, I'm still starting Taylor, but on a matchup perspective for the rush defense, a little tougher versus position. Just be aware of that. That's all.
Sure. And then Pittman, I just want to say Pittman was doing terrible last week. He was like at 1.8 fantasy points, and then he got that one big catch for a touchdown. It was like a 60-yard touchdown pass, and that made his day. I mean, he did great, and I was thrilled that he got that. But it was a little bit concerning that, you know, like in the third quarter, he was at like 1.8 fantasy points. So
75-yarder.
hopefully he's a little bit more consistent this year. Josh Downs looked great. Start Josh Downs. There's a lot of good options here. I would maximize, starting players on both of these teams for this week because I think it's going to be a good one.
All right. And yeah, look at the consistency, guys. Are they consistent? Are they getting the volume consistently? That's what you need to look at. Start them, okay? 4-2 Cleveland at 4-2 Seattle. Seattle 3-point favorite here. And that's simply easily because they're at home here. Again, it's probably not going to be Watson. It might be the Walker show. Again, with Seattle, JSN finally got some work with the Metcalf injury. I'm not sure what's going on with the Metcalf injury. Check that out. He was banged up. JSN finally got some work. Again, with this one, with the running back situation as well. I mean, we talked about it here. You know, Jerome Ford, ankle banged up. Kareem Hunt becoming more of a factor. Probably going to be the starting guy if Jerome Ford's out. And we had Pierre Strong, right? How long has Pierre Strong has been in the league a while, has he not? Let me go back and check.
I don't even know.
He's one of those like total years to wow us, we're not wowed guys.
Right.
Actually, no, not really. Pierre Strong has been a couple years, actually. A couple years.
Yeah.
What did he do last year?
He just switched teams because he used to be on the Patriots. They
Yeah,
cut
he did
him.
nothing there.
Cleveland picked him up.
Wasn't there another guy named Pierre a long time ago, though?
Well, yes. But he was a receiver.
Not Pierre Garcon, was it?
Yeah, Pierre Garcon. Yeah.
No, but there was another guy, like another Strong or a Pierre. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This guy's only been in the league. He was a 4th-round pick in 2022. Did nothing with the Patriots last year. Now he's getting an opportunity here. Again, as a flex play, maybe as a DFS value type thing. But Kareem Hunt should be the guy with Jerome Ford out.
Yeah, the thing is, Kareem Hunt isn't very good, man. He's an old guy, man. He's an old man. So, I think I don't know. This offense is really struggling right now, just because there's been just so many injuries among key players. I'd want to minimize my exposure, outside of Amari Cooper. That's really the only guy I'm really comfortable starting. I mean, certainly these running backs. Pierre Strong was getting most of the volume when Ford went out last week. So you got to think that hopefully that would continue this week, but it's going to be a risky play, either Kareem Hunt or Pierre Strong in this one. So I would bench them if you can, but if you need to start them, go ahead. Go ahead. You'll hopefully you get something out of them.
All right, let's move on to the next matchup here. We got 6-1 KC at Denver, 7.5-point favorite KC. This should be an absolute blowout. What does Vegas have this at for the over-under here? 46.5. Okay, that's not bad. It should be a blowout. I mean, Kelsey's been on fire. Taylor Swift has been coming to the games. He looks good every matchup. Rashee Rice, a viable play. Denver, I mean, Sutton seems to be the one for the year. Running back situation, I don't trust it with Denver. Pacheco's definitely worth a start. And that's it for this one. I think I covered everything there. And it should be a KC win. Clear cut. I mean, this is not a game I will be watching it maybe. I'll be tuning in just to see Rashee Rice, see what he's doing. But it's so obvious who's going to win this. I mean, we always have upsets in the NFL. Maybe the fix is in. Maybe it's this is your lock of the week, and then Denver comes out and wins. But very highly unlikely. Russell Wilson's been just very disappointing. He's just going out in his career in a very bad lackluster way. He's not gonna be remembered as a great quarterback the way he's going out now. Just not.
It is disappointing, and clearly Seattle made the right move when they when they moved on from him.
Yeah.
But I mean, how much is it Russell Wilson? How much is it just the offense is just doesn't have a. I mean, when you're saying that Cortland Sutton is your number one receiver, what does that say about your team? It's just saying that your
Yeah.
whole team isn't very good,
And then Judy
and so I think
sucks.
that's the
Judy's
case.
overrated.
Who?
Judy
I'm
was
sorry.
overrated.
Who?
Judy was completely overrated. That's it.
Yeah, Judy's probably going to get traded. Yeah, Judy's been. I've benched Judy for now. I mean, I just like can't even deal with it. So don't even do that. And then Javonte, hasn't been great. Of course, he's coming back from that big injury and stuff. And that's always a tough thing for running backs to come back from. But clearly, he's being, he's got all this competition in the backfield. So starting any of those running backs is going to be a risky play, but I'd be willing to start any of them in the flex, as far as
He's the guy.
Javonte goes
Williams is the guy,
and
15 attempts.
McLaurin or whatever that guy's name is. I'd start him too. I'd put him in the flex if you need to.
McLaughlin only had 5 touchdowns, and then Javonte had the 15. So it looks like Javonte has now established that role as the main guy. But
Right.
P. Ryan had 2. Just some information for you guys when you're making decisions here. All right, Cincinnati at San Fran, 3-3 at San Fran, 5-2. And who's the favorite? Oh, this one I didn't have the odds for this one yet. They're just trying to figure it out. They're like, okay, what do we do here? We got Burrow, who's paid like $1 bazillion, and he's supposed to be the better quarterback against Brock Purdy, who's not as paid as much, and it should be closer than they think. 3-3 versus 5-2. San Fran at home should take it. Defense should win this game. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey's a start. Debo is banged up. Ayuk's obviously a start. Cincinnati, you got to go Jamar Chase. And Joe Mixon has a tough matchup versus position. That's pretty much the breakdown for this one.
Yeah, and as far as I think teams have kind of started to figure out how to stop Brock Purdy. Purdy has looked mortal in his past 2 games with these 2 losses. So I think defenses have kind of figured out how to contain this this offense. And so anyway, I think there could be the chance for a upset here. Again, Cincinnati winning on the road in San Francisco. I certainly want a piece of that, and hopefully we see a big game out of Burrow and Jamar Chase. I need that for sure.
Yeah, and Kittle's looking good too, so make sure you start him.
Kittle is good, but he's inconsistent. That's the problem, man. I mean, he'll either get you 30 points or he'll get you 0. That's like how he plays. So,
Yeah. All right, next matchup here, we've got what do we got? Baltimore 5-2, 8.5-point favorite at Arizona 1-6. I mean, there's nothing really to say here. I have 0 Arizona stock. I don't like their players. I don't like their team. I don't like their franchise. There's nothing good going on in Arizona at all. Lamar Jackson's been safe. Flowers looking great.
Flowers has been great.
Yeah.
Flowers looks so good right now, and I'm just very excited about how he's come on in his rookie year. And Gus Edwards again has looked
14,
good enough
14
that you can start him if you need to. Just go. He's going to get enough volume, and hopefully he gets a touchdown. That's what you're hoping for there with him.
Gus is the guy. Amari DeMarcado got 13 attempts, so he's probably the guy there now. He's kind of moved up.
Yeah. I think I mean. And really Marquise Brown and DeMarcado are probably the 2 guys you can start on Arizona. I wouldn't start anybody else on this team. Ravens defense also seems like a good start this week.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Chicago 2-5 versus Chargers 2-4, and the Chargers, man, oh man. I mean, when you're talking about fantasy disappointment, especially for my Quentin Johnson stock, I mean, they're using Palmer, bottom feeder Palmer. It's weird, man. He just doesn't want to throw to Quentin Johnson. Again, we had this conversation. You don't think he's as talented as I do. I think Quentin Johnson's the best wide receiver in the game. He's just lacking volume. He's not getting the volume. You can be Michael Jordan, but if Michael Jordan doesn't touch the ball, he's not going to put up points. It's just a matter of fact, right? And you could say, well, he's not running routes. He's not proving himself. I disagree, man. With the void with Mike Williams there, they should have been running Quentin Johnson and using him effectively, but they're not. And then you got Eckler, who's been mediocre at best. He's missed a ton of time. I think he's sitting, I don't know where he's sitting, 30th, 40th amongst running backs. He was the second overall pick, man. I told you to fade him. Decline happening. He was overdue. No offensive coordinator. Again, if you got Eckler, I mean, what do you got to do? You got to start him, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer for sure. Quentin Johnson, I don't really trust at this moment. And then with Chicago, you got what's his name here? The new young guy coming in here. He's got that name here. He had a mediocre week last week. Tyson, how do you pronounce it? Bagent? Bagent. 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
That sounds good to me. I don't know.
Tyson Bagent has been playing. I'm not starting. The only Mike Tyson I'd start in sports would be Mike Tyson, but definitely not this Tyson Bagent.
Yeah. So anyway, Chicago, we've got, I mean, who can you really trust to start in Chicago? DJ Moore, of course. The backfield, Donta Foreman has looked really good, but I heard that Roshan Johnson is probably going to be back this week, so that's going to muddy the waters there.
Yeah.
It's going to make it a little bit harder to trust, but I think you could start Foreman as well. But I'm not sure how much you could expect out of this game. I think that the Chargers are going to win this one. Clearly, the problem with the Chargers is not their offense. The problem is their defense hasn't been able to stop anybody. That's why they're losing games. They've been able to score points and stuff. They've been good for fantasy, but they just can't stop the other team from scoring, and they're at 2-4, which is ridiculous. They should be better than that. They're a better team than that.
What's sad is this is a Sunday night game. I'm not excited to watch this game, other than just to get pissed off. I mean, I got Herbert in fantasy, but other than that, who cares?
Right.
All right, this other game here, finally the Monday night here, we got Vegas at Detroit. Detroit 8.5-point favorite. Again, I'll be watching this just to see Jahmyr Gibbs. Primetime. Is Montgomery coming back? Something to monitor here. Adams has been demanding the ball a lot more, and he's been getting it here. I don't know, man. I don't know about this game. Are you excited about it? I think Brian Hoyer might be getting the start here. I got to take a look. I don't know what the Jimmy Garoppolo update is with the injury. Goff didn't look the greatest last week. He should pick it up this week. Detroit just didn't look as good as they should have last week, but hopefully
well, the thing is, Goff plays better at home. They were away last week. They're back at home. I think Detroit's gonna just boat race the Vegas.
Yeah.
So on Vegas's side, you got to start Adams. You got to start Jacobs. I think that's it. I think that's the only players I would start on that team. But Detroit, I'd want to start just about everybody I could, everybody I can on those teams, because I think it's going to be a really good game. We don't know if Montgomery's going to play, so Gibbs is definitely a start. And as far as Laporta, start him. Reynolds, start him. There's a lot of options there for the offense, and I would start I would start Goff. Start Goff. He's at home. He's going to be great. So,
well, there you have it, guys. Starts and sits. I can't believe we're going to say this. Week 8.
Week 8, man. Jeez, it's just so fast,
just like that. Well, I got to get my beard grown in and my grays back to get back to normal. And yeah, man, I'm excited for the week. Just crazy. This has been the most weirdest year of all time. I mean, there's been some weird years, but this is weird because, again, you're getting running backs that are supposed to get volume, just not getting volume. You're getting first-round picks being benched. You got so much craziness. You got guys with weird illnesses that I got a headache, I'm out. It's just been one of those years. You got quarterbacks that just not performing where they should be, right? Injuries all over the place. It's been a wild year, but that's fantasy football. That's what makes it so exciting and frustrating at the same time. So here we are.
Right. The agony and the ecstasy of fantasy football. That's what it is. So.
All right, guys. Thanks, Jim. We're out, guys. Subscribe, thumbs up, drop any questions below. We'll talk to you guys soon. We're out.
Yeah. Good luck at week 8, everybody.
Thanks.